What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Z-Millie coming back at you with another episode of Noticing. Today we have Noticing episode 9, and we got a good one for you guys today. It's going to be great, and it damn well better be, because it's been almost a month since I posted on YouTube. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, baby. Let's get into it. To start us off, we got media, and we're covering the SPLC, okay? Otherwise referred to as the Southern Poverty Law Center. What y'all know about that? Have you ever wondered who actually decides what's okay to say online? Most people think it's just the tech companies, but there's another player behind the curtains that most people don't even realize exists. It's called the SPLC and the ADL. The SPLC started back in 1971 in Montgomery, Alabama. It was founded by two lawyers, Morris Dees and Joseph Levin Jr., who's Jewish, who wanted to take on groups tied to racial violences in the South. At the time, it was seen as a civil rights law firm fighting for justice. Fast forward just a few decades, and the SPLC has become something completely different. Instead of filing lawsuits, it now runs huge databases that track what it calls hate groups and extremists. And those lists that the SPLC updates every year carry a ton of weight. It's not just a small nonprofit either. The SPLC has built an endowment worth around $700 million. That makes it one of the richest advocacy groups in the entire country. With that kind of money, it can put out polished reports, big media campaigns, and educational materials that shape how journalists, corporations, and tech companies think about what's acceptable speech. And that's where things start to get interesting. Over the years, companies like PayPal, Amazon, Facebook, and Google have all said they've talked with or consulted the SPLC when updating their hate speech and extremism rules. And PayPal even named the SPLC as one of the outside experts it used for risk assessments. Amazon used the SPLC's hate map to decide which charities could take donations through Amazon Smile. And multiple social platforms have cited SPLC reports when banning or demonetizing accounts that appear on those lists. And when a private nonprofit's opinions are treated like official truth, that can have real consequences for speech online. The SPLC's work has sparked a lot of controversy. Even people on the left have criticized the SPLC for blurring the line between tracking real hate groups and tagging legitimate political or religious organizations. So whether you see it as a watchdog or a gatekeeper, the SPLC shows how a private group, backed by hundreds of millions of dollars, can shape what's allowed in the online public square. And that's a lot of power for an organization that most people have never even fucking heard of. Moving on to Hollywood, we're covering Arnon Milchan, which is a very interesting one. What a stand-up fucking guy, right? It's gonna blow your fucking mind. Arnon Milchan is an Israeli billionaire, film producer, and former spy. His story is a tapestry of espionage, weapons trafficking, and Hollywood propaganda, making him a key player in the intersection of Israeli intelligence and American entertainment. He began his career as a key operative for the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad from the mid-1960s to the mid-1980s. During this period, he was deeply involved in Israel's nuclear weapons program, playing a central role in an espionage ring that diverted American technology and materials to Israel's nuclear arsenal. By the way, diverted is just a euphemism for stealing nuclear assets. This activity was a direct counter to the Kennedy administration's efforts to block such developments and the administration's general policy on nuclear non-proliferation. And this highlighted the strategic and diplomatic advantages Israel gained through his efforts. His intelligence activities were extensive and included buying components to build and maintain Israel's nuclear arsenal, and supervising government-backed accounts and front companies that financed the special needs of the entirety of Israel's intelligence operations outside the country. His work was so significant that the Israeli president Shimon Peres described him as a special man, whose activities gave Israel a huge advantage strategically, diplomatically, and technologically. Transitioning from espionage to Hollywood, he founded Regency Enterprises, which is a production company with an impressive portfolio that includes films like 12 Years a Slave, JFK, Heat, Fight Club, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. His role in producing JFK, directed by Oliver Stone, is particularly noteworthy. The film, released in 1991, explores the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and touches on the theories involving Israeli intelligence, because they killed him, and he worked to suppress and censor all the legitimate evidence to make sure it didn't make it into the movie, which further cemented his influence in shaping American perceptions of historical events. And his Hollywood career is not without controversy, obviously. He has been involved in scandals, including a bribery case in 2018 where Israeli police recommended charges against him and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Their friendship, which developed during Milchan's intelligence days, has been a subject of scrutiny, with Netanyahu testifying in his trial that the relationship was based on true friendship rather than transactional benefits. Right. However, the prosecution argues that Milchan sought Netanyahu's favor through luxury gifts, which Netanyahu used to influence regulatory decisions benefiting Milchan's business interests. See, I told you, like, what a great guy, you know? Like, we should actually give him more influence and more power when you think about it. Oh, and I almost forgot. So, fun fact, he made most of his money through arms trafficking and supplying the South African government during apartheid. All right, moving on to financial sector, we have Howard Rubin, and this one is also very interesting. It's actually fucking crazy. Howard Rubin is a Jewish former Wall Street financier and hedge fund manager working for George Soros, who is also Jewish. He is currently embroiled in a disturbing controversy involving serious allegations of sex trafficking and abuse. He is currently accused of luring women into a soundproofed sex dungeon in his New York City penthouse. What the fuck? The charges against him include sex trafficking, transporting women across state lines for commercial sex acts, which is what they hit Diddy with, by the way, but instead he was transporting men across state lines to fuck his girlfriend. And subjecting them to severe physical and psychological abuse over a decade. The most horrifying aspects of the case involve Rubin allegedly tying women to crosses and engaging in BDSM acts that cause significant pain and injuries. Tying them to crosses. Seriously? Really? Could it be more on the nose? Like, knows. But seriously, some of the victims required medical attention and in extreme cases surgery due to the severity of the abuse that they endured. The indictment details how Rubin would psychologically and sexually brutalize these women, often ignoring safe words and binding them to prevent them from stopping the acts. Rubin's girlfriend, Jennifer Powers, is also implicated in the case, accused of aiding and abetting his actions. Together, they allegedly spent over $1 million to finance this trafficking network and recruiting women to participate in BDSM acts. She's also said to have played a role in controlling and intimidating the victims, ensuring that they complied with Rubin's demands. Disturbing texts and communications between Rubin and Powers revealed the manipulative tactics. For instance, they would exchange messages detailing the abuse and ensuring the victims were isolated and dependent on them. These communications often included threats and attempts to control the narrative around the allegations. He is also accused of trying to intimidate the women from cooperating with the investigation. This includes attempts to control their access to information, devices, and finances, as well as efforts to discredit them. The fear expressed by the victims and the serious nature of the allegations have led to Rubin's continued detention, with the prosecutor citing threats of witness intimidation. You know, he's a stand-up guy, really. All right, moving on to corporations, we have Black Cube, which is a very interesting one. Black Cube is a private intelligence agency founded in 2010 by former Israeli intelligence officers Dan Zarella and Avi Yunus. The company is based in London, Tel Aviv, and Madrid, and it employs former members of Israeli intelligence services, providing a range of investigative and intelligence services to corporate clients, law firms, and high net worth individuals. One of the most controversial and problematic cases involving Black Cube is their work for Harvey Weinstein. In 2016, Weinstein hired Black Cube to suppress the allegations of sexual assault against him. The firm was tasked with preventing the publication of abuse allegations and influencing the narrative surrounding the accusations. Black Cube agents used a variety of tactics, including front companies, false identities, and covert surveillance to gather information on journalists and actresses, particularly Rose McGowan, who had accused Harvey Weinstein of rape. And in the case of Ronan Farrow, who was investigating Weinstein for The New Yorker, Black Cube agents tracked his geolocation data from his phone, allowing them to monitor his movements. This surveillance was part of a broader effort to intimidate and discredit journalists and sources involved in the investigation. Farrow later described the experience as emotionally devastating and highlighted how the use of both traditional surveillance techniques and modern commercial spyware created a complex web of intimidation. They also gathered information on the women who had accused Weinstein, using tactics such as posing as women rights advocates to secretly record meetings with accusers like Rose McGowan. The goal was to discredit these women and prevent them from testifying or pressing charges. This operation was part of a larger strategy to protect Weinstein's reputation and suppress the hashtag #MeToo movement that was gaining momentum at the time. Leaked emails also indicate that former Israeli leaders such as Ehud Barak and Benny Gantz discussed cooperation opportunities with Black Cube, suggesting a level of engagement between the Israeli government and the private intelligence firm. And this cooperation certainly implies that Israel has access to and utilizes intelligence gathered by Black Cube. Hooray! Moving on to donors, we have Jeffrey Yass, and this is going to be a good one. Jeffrey Yass is a Jewish-American billionaire, investor, and co-founder of the Susquehanna, I don't know how to pronounce that, International Group, which is a powerful trading firm based in Philadelphia. Yass is one of the largest political donors in the country, channeling his fortune into causes that promote, like, mainly free markets and pro-Israel shit. That's basically what it boils down to. And his foundations have funded major institutions like the Cato Institute, the Atlas Network, and the Competitive Enterprise Institute. And through his Claus Foundation, he has given over $25 million to the Shalom Hartman Institute in Jerusalem, as well as $100,000 to the Central Fund of Israel, which supports settlement projects in the West Bank, and $10,000 to the Friends of the IDF. Him and his business partner have also been linked to funding the Israeli think tank Kaholit Policy Forum, which is an organization that's influential in Israel's recent judicial reform debates. So overall, his donations reveal a consistent pattern. Domestically, he seeks to privatize and deregulate markets and education, and internationally, he channels his wealth towards Israel-aligned institutions and policy networks that support right-wing or nationalist groups. And last but not least, we have the miscellaneous category, and today we're talking about Project Esther, which this one is fucking crazy and honestly my favorite one of this whole video. Project Esther was a political initiative for 2024 and was a response to the October 7th attacks on Israel. It was created by the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank that's largely funded by Jewish billionaires such as Sheldon and Miriam Adelson. In essence, Project Esther was a concerted effort by wealthy Jewish elites to suppress pro-Palestinian activism, particularly on college campuses, by labeling pro-Palestine activist groups as Hamas Support Networks, or HSNs. And the DOJ has been actively investigating universities for alleged anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment. Institutions like Columbia and Harvard have faced threats of having their federal funding pulled for allowing pro-Palestine protests. And currently, the DOJ is working out a deal with these colleges where they will oversee the correction of the Middle East Studies Department to make it more pro-Israel, and also give the Jewish faculty at the schools a settlement for all the anti-Semitism that they experienced during the protests. This initiative is seen as part of a broader agenda to control the narrative around Israel and Palestine, and only at the expense of free speech and academic freedom. But Project Esther isn't just about targeting activism, it's also about securing political power. By aligning with pro-Israel policies, the Heritage Foundation aimed to support the election of a Republican president in 2024, knowing that the Christian evangelical base of the Republican Party is far more sympathetic to Israel. This strategy was designed to garner support for the war in Gaza and other Israeli actions, leveraging the conservative and evangelical vote to give Israel more flexibility in Gaza and the broader Middle East. Another part of Project Esther was to deport and denaturalize immigrants and visa workers for criticizing Israel and making it so that people who were trying to get citizenship to the United States couldn't get it if they had expressed anti-Israeli sentiments online. Also with this initiative, you started to see some Jewish billionaires such as Bill Ackman, who were lifelong Democrats, begin to switch sides and support Trump after October 7th, citing alignment with Israel's interests. This shift is seen as a testament to the influence of pro-Israel lobbying and the willingness of powerful figures to cross party lines to support policies favorable to Israel. And that's what it's all about, okay? Left, right, it doesn't matter. They will throw this entire fucking country under the bus when it comes to Israel. It's just a simple matter of the fact. But anyway, everybody, that's gonna do it. That's episode 9 of Noticing. Thank you all so much for coming out. I'm sorry it took so long. I promise the next one will not take as long. I promise. Maybe. But yeah, so anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that fucking shit. But that's gonna do it for me, guys, so I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, never stop the noticing, baby.